Do you have a poor relationship with food? Do you feel it's the main stumbling block to you losing weight and being leaner? Well, in this video, I share 4 tactics to having a healthier relationship with food. Now, there's been a lot of talk around weight loss, but we often miss the behaviors and common patterns that feature time and time again that harm your efforts to lose weight. You desire to lose weight. You long to fit into clothes without them feeling tight. You want to look in the mirror and be content with the reflection staring back at you. Part of that life, aside from the weight loss, is being able to have a healthier relationship with food. The idea is that you and food can coexist in a harmonious way, devoid of guilt, shame, and sadness. At first, it seems to be a pipe dream for you, yet it can happen. But it is one of the least touched upon areas in the whole weight loss narrative. Before talking about having a healthier relationship with food, it's important to highlight 2 areas commonly seen as an unhealthy relationship to food. That being yo-yo diet cycle and binge eating. So the first piece is yo-yo dieting. Now, I'm sure all of you are aware in some form or another what yo-yo dieting is. Research shows that people will try at least 126 diets in their lifetime. 126 diets. Now, if you tried 126 versions of anything, you would be thinking something is missing. But as you have probably experienced, it is very easy to just zero in on this moment in time and think, hope even, that this is the one diet that will make a difference. And in many cases, they do. They induce weight loss. The problem is in the maintenance of said weight loss. And I argue a large factor in that is the psychology. The yo-yo diet cycle tends to involve 4 stages. The decision to lose weight, the act of losing weight, which is the diet, the realization you've lost weight, and then the diminishing of attention towards losing weight and eventual weight gain. This cycle creates a lot of disappointment for people as they ratchet up multiple experiences of times that they perceive themselves to fail. This can lead to apathy and also increase the threshold of when they decide to lose weight the next time. Also, each time you lose weight and gain weight, you are developing adaptations that make it more challenging to lose weight the next time. So, for example, let's say you are 80 kilos and you gain weight up to 100 kilos. You lose weight back down to 80 kilos. Next time, you gain weight up to 105 kilos before committing to lose weight again. This time, you get down to 85 kilos before old habits start to creep in again. Life and priorities take over, and it's not until you are at 106 kilos before saying enough is enough, and while on a diet get down to 88 kilos. But the same patterns return, and after 8 months you find yourself the heaviest you've been at 110 kilos. So each time the threshold for when you get frustrated and determined to lose weight gets triggered at a higher weight than before. Now, can you relate to this? When people talk about breaking the yo-yo diet cycle, they tend to look at where in the cycle they could do something different or reach a different outcome. For example, rather than losing weight, you focus on health enhancement, where your metric isn't weight loss, but monitoring your energy levels or how you feel, which is one of the principles centered around the health at every size protocol. At the point of losing weight, you move on to the principles that will help you maintain lost weight, essentially transitioning away from the weight loss mindset. This is one of the things I look at on my health protocol online training, which you can find a link to in the description below. Binge eating can be described as regularly eating a lot of food over a short period of time until you are uncomfortably full. Whilst common, it is not classed as a binge eating disorder unless a certain criteria is met, which is recurrent and persistent episodes of binge eating at least once a week for 3 months. Binge eating episodes are associated with 3 or more of the following: eating much more rapidly than normal, eating until feeling uncomfortably full, Eating large amounts of food when not feeling physically hungry. Eating alone because of being embarrassed by how much one is eating. Feeling disgusted with oneself, depressed or very guilty after overeating. A marked distress regarding binge eating. An absence of regulatory compensatory behaviour such as purging. Now this video is not about binge eating disorders. If you feel you match this criteria, it is important you go to the doctor to get further help and support. Yet, there are many, and I work with clients daily, who describe themselves as having a poor relationship with food. Whilst not in the territory of being a disorder, it does pose a problem in the ultimate goal of being healthier and ending relentless rebounding of weight. Do you describe yourself as having a poor relationship with food? Do you feel, at times, out of control when eating food, especially highly processed food? Do you find it is a critical piece that sometimes scuppers goals of losing weight and being leaner? If you do, there are 4 factors to keep in mind that can begin the process of getting a better relationship with food. So, the first one, stop seeing it as a relationship. Now, I know I've spent all this time talking about your relationship with food, and now I'm saying stop seeing it as a relationship. Relationship in NLP is known as a nominalization. Sounds fancy, but it just means when in talking about something you turn a process into a fixed thing. A wheelbarrow is a fixed thing, but a relationship isn't. A relationship is a living thing, not a static entity. If someone comes to me and says, I lack confidence, confidence being another example of a nominalization, I would want to drill into how they know they lack confidence, how they define confidence, and then diverting their mind into thinking and doing what they envisage confidence to be, one step at a time. It is only by doing the things they define as traits of confidence that they can be confident. Relationship is the same. If you continue to define it as your relationship with food, it is like talking about a movie based on its review without ever watching the movie. To remedy this, start looking at how you eat, what you eat, what foods you want to eat more of, and then in small steps integrate the foods you want to eat more of. This way, you move beyond the notion of whether it is good or bad relationships with food, and instead it's just eating, and decide whether you want to tweak eating further based on feedback, whether that is weight, energy levels, or health metrics like cholesterol or vitamin D levels. Number 2 is add to your coping repertoire. For many, food is a coping mechanism. It is used to relieve boredom, to feel better, for comfort after a rubbish day. While there is nothing inherently wrong with this, as the very reason you do it is because it worked in some way in the past, it does pose problems, and that's mainly twofold. One is the obvious one. The food consumption can fulfill its job of making you feel better, but adds to the level of calories you are consuming. If done repetitively, it can contribute to weight gain further down the line. 2, as many have experienced, post-consumption, you can end up feeling guilt, shame and sadness, especially if you are trying to lose weight and you've labelled this food as bad or naughty foods of which you are trying to cut down on. It is important then to add to your coping repertoire so you know you have many options. Some of the things me and my clients discuss are, for example, a calming ritual such as a warm bath, candles, chilled music, maybe even a trashy magazine, the whole works. By seeing this as an option, it comes to mind quickly and it can be a reality within 20 minutes of you getting home after a rubbish day. The second one is a meditation ritual. Now this doesn't have to be sat down chanting some mantra. It can be as simple as focusing on your long exhale of breath while paying attention to something in your environment. For example, the fine detail of a picture in front of you. Another is watching comedy shows that will make you laugh. And of course the other option is exercise, particularly but not exclusively running, which many attribute as a great way to clear their head. And number 3, Change your strategy, not your level of restraint. When talking about your relationship with food, as I discussed in the first point, it is important to focus on the interaction between you and the food rather than concluding it is good or bad. With that in mind, making tweaks to your interactions with food is more important than trying to restrain yourself from eating it. I say this time and time again. We live in an obesogenic environment. Food is everywhere, but we still have the biological drivers we had in the hunter-gatherer days when food was scarce. To try and eliminate or categorize food as good or bad will only lead to seeing those foods as more taboo. This can lead to them being seen as more desirable. What you want to do instead is change your strategy, not the level of restraint. We know processed food is tasty, moreish, and easy to eat. As a result, it is important to set parameters around it to enjoy it, but not overeat it. So these can include only having this type of food on a particular day in the week, or buying single entities like one cookie from the bakery rather than a whole packet. 3. Only eat this type of food when you are out and never have it in the house. Or just eat a piece of this type of food once a day that fits in with the rest of the food intake in the day and week. So none of these factors require you to eliminate eating them, but it does create a parameter to avoid overeating them. And the final one is slow down and be mindful. Now you may have heard a lot about mindful eating or intuitive eating. Back in the 50s and 60s, where more meals were cooked from scratch and families would eat around the table, everything seemed a lot slower. Now, it can be more common to be eating food specifically designed to break up easily, requiring fewer chews whilst eating TV. You could have consumed 500 calories before the first commercial and not even realized it. This style of eating puts a disconnect between you and the food. It creates a mindless consumption mentality rather than a mindful satisfaction. Mindful satisfaction is when you eat mindfully and slowly enough that you can allow your palate to actually taste the multitude of flavors you are enjoying. As a side note, it allows your digestive juices that are activated in the mouth to actually do their job, improving the digestion of your food in the process. So next time you have a meal and ongoing, slow it down slightly. This comes in the form of the amount of chews you make when eating and the gap of time between each mouthful. By doing this, you spend more time with your food and have a greater connection with what you are eating. This is massively important when moving towards a more health-based mindset, as the foods you eat becomes more of an ally to your ongoing health. So, to improve your relationship with food, stop seeing it as a relationship, add to your coping repertoire, change your strategy, not your level of restraint, and slow down and be mindful. So let me ask you a question. What is food to you? Do you see it as a relationship? How do you treat food at the moment? I'd love to read your comments below, and be sure to subscribe to this channel and stay updated on all the videos I put out. And I'll see you in the next video.